This afternoon's tactical enhancement is some Danish beer, and the Savo we're playing Team Yankee, and it's the encounter mission, so some meeting engagement, long edge to long edge, scattered delayed reserves for both players, and we've got a 4-player game, so 2 people each side, which means a total of 180 points per side. So we need reserves and we need an 8-foot long table. Oh god, let's see if I can get the whole thing in. Yes, there we go. That's it. So we'll talk through what everyone's got now that we're deployed, and we'll figure out what the hell we're going to try and do to each other. On the red side of the table, I'm feeling the poles, and in my deployment car park, I've got a couple of Gecko AA, mainly because I just love the way these things look. Hopefully keep the skies clear. No idea if they're bringing planes. And we've got a couple of other AA, one of whom's suffered the edge of table phenomenon and has broken a few bits, so he's turretless. We've got Danas, of course, because we're fielding Warpack, and some hail. And 2 units of infantry in their BMPs, ready to move forward and challenge that bunch of British over there. Now in the middle, we've got an observer and a platoon of more infantry, because it would appear that all of the AA in the middle of the table there is unsupported by infantry or tanks, so we might have some fun with that. And I'll get Andrew to talk through what he's brought for his Ruskies.
Okay, so today we've got a full battalion of Afghansky. So we've got a company here, heavy artillery and support, with Hales, 2 Geckos, 2 Shilkas, and a ton of stuff in reserve as well.
Right, we'll show the reserves separately, I think, because there's rather a lot of it. Now, in reserve for the Polish, we have some inexpensive T-72Ms, 4 of the choppers, and a flight of 6 Rook, because I actually thought they were going to bring challenges. We did a very large game, so they could afford a lot of challenges to be on the table, but we're not quite sure where they are.
So they need to come on.
And here we have the Russian reserves. And they've got a platoon of motorized infantry, some T-64s, and another 4 aeroplanes. And it's worth noting we've got 4 choppers off table as well, for both the Russians and for the Polish. But those helicopters are not in reserve, they're loitering off table waiting for the opportunity to come on. Right, now for the British, Emilio's British.
Okay, welcome viewers. 3 Chieftain tanks, they've all got steel brew. They're holding that left flank. In the centre we've got our 4 rapiers, and we've also got 3 of our marksmen. So any AA that comes in numbers, we're going to take care of them, and definitely looking at tactical range by moving in that centre place. And mirrored over on the right flank, I've got another 3 Chieftains with steel brew as well. So that's it for me with my starter force.
Oh, where's your company captain?
He's in there.
Ah, right. I thought there was something missing. Make room for the CO, hey? Hang on, what's going on?
Oh, they're 3 screwed. Okay, so we've got our Chieftain Armoured Squadron Headquarters. That's the Chieftain Company Commander, and with the 2 tanks there also with the steel brew package. That's it for me.
Hello, Captain Richard here. So we have a platoon of infantry there with some abbots in support. Company commander at the back there, starting to wonder if he's made a deployment mistake, because the rest of his company is on the other flank.
No, well, I think we better have a look at them. And I'll just pan the battlefield and try not to get too many men's crotches in the shot while I do it. Okay, oh, here we go. The
And
other
here's
flank.
the other platoon of infantry there with their warrior support, plus some 105mm mortars in their FV-142s,
Oh, is that what those are?
plus an observer.
Alright, what can he observe from here? Let's have a look. Oh, a whole field of Afghansi. That looks promising. Alright, well, next up we will do the roll for first turn. Fortunately, that's not all of the British reserves. We're going to look at the British reserves before we do the roll for the first turn. Talk us through what you got in reserve there, Emilio.
Yeah, okay. So not everything's laid out for you to see at the moment, but I've got another 3 chieftain tanks in here. We've got a couple of swing fire. There's a mechanised platoon, plus we've got an extra 2 Milan that are put into that particular platoon. So that's the bulk of it there. What you can't see on camera, it's actually still mixed within my army box at the moment, is a couple of Spartan, a couple of Scimitar, a couple of Scorpion. There's a striker guided weapons troop in there. There's a couple of those.
So the light vehicle frenzies
The light vehicle frenzies in reserve.
Lovely. Oh, that'll be fun. So we've got a whole chieftain company on the table, which we also don't see very often. That'll be fun. So this is the other British reserves. What do we got here?
There's 4 tow Lynx helicopters.
Oh, you got those in reserve. All right.
Yeah. 4 Harriers.
Well, I'm starting to feel better about taking on the AA.
Yeah. 2 chieftains. So we have a ton of
there we are.
chieftains today, and a Milan section.
So that's 13 chieftains on the table today, plus a whole lot of.
I lost count. By the way, you asked where the challenges were. We unfortunately sold those to Iraq. No, Iran. Whoever.
You sold challenges for Iran.
Well, apparently, Challenger was developed for the Shah of Iran, but after the revolution, Britain said, "No, we're not doing that. We'll keep it."
Right, no, that might have been a good move. All right, let's get on some more dice rolling. Just for shits and giggles before we get to that dice roll, this is the combined Russian and Polish Air Force for today.
Take it.
It's 8 choppers and 10 fucking aircraft. Oh my lord. Alright, this is the dice for first turn. So, oh, look at that. A grand total of 4 for the red 4. And, well, something better for the red 4. So that means we get first turn. It means we can't fire artillery this turn because it's a mobile battle. Everyone counts as moving whether they moved or not, although I think that is the case for both sides. Anyway, we're going to get on with some movement, and then we'll check in at the end of the movement phase. Because it's a mobile battle, and we can't fire artillery this turn, and no reserves are coming in for a little while yet, we've just moved up a little bit. So those guys have moved up. I've forgotten to move these chaps, so I'll sort that out in a moment. Over here, by some miracle, all of my BMP-1s beat their cross-checks. They've come up over there to advance on the soft centre of the British lines. And on the Ruski side, well, these guys dug in. For some reason they were a bit edgy about advancing in the open in the face of a bunch of mortars and an observer over there. And some infantry have moved up into this building here. While the British are working out their movement for turn 1, there's no Russian shooting this turn. Just a little comparison of size. The Warrior is quite a bit bigger than the box standard BMP-1 or BMP-2.
That's the up armoured Warrior, mind you.
Yeah, well, yeah, up armoured, a little wider at the hips, about the same length.
Maybe if you can drop
And,
it.
only slightly taller, but says something about the size of these beasts in the real world.
Small template.
The end of turn 1. 3 of the Warriors came forward. I guess the other ones got a bit stuck. 1 tank came around here. The tanks took out 1 BMP-1 and 1 passenger. Now, a quick note on these Warriors that are moving up. All I've got to stop them is 1 platoon of infantry, and of course the Polish don't have as many RPGs to play around with. And if the Warriors get past them, then my whole artillery and AA park here is in jeopardy. So my BMP-2 push on the AA over there may have to reconsider their options, although I'm pretty sure if I just look through here, I might have a shot between the woods and the building, so I might get the odd missile off those bastards. And the rest of the British shooting thinned out as artillery, basically mortars and abbots, thinned out the Afghanistan platoon over here by I think a total of what, four RPG stands. And that's it for turn 1. Now over to the Reds turn 2. We'll check in at the end. It's now the end of the turn 1 for the turn 2, sorry, for the Red forces, and the infantry blitzed out of the transports here. An RPG took out one warrior, and they ranged in with a hail over here and didn't kill anything, but of course the hails are now ranged in for repeat bombardments on the infantry defending that objective. The BMP-2s rushed back to help protect that flank, which is incredibly vulnerable to a push from the English right now, but their infantry have decided to join the push toward those AA. Meanwhile, the platoon that was over here has moved up and taken up a position so that if the British marksmen do decide to pop out and try and kill what's there, the risk of counterfire could be quite nasty. So they're in a bit of a bind. The Afghans are moving up. There's quite the swamp of infantry heading for the centre of the table there.
I'm sure the British 10X, so I think some redeployment.
Yes, and there could be some artillery and infantry in the open. We'll see how that goes. And the Afghans shooting got rather eventful on this flank. They killed how many infantry?
Just one infantry.
Just one infantry. Wasted the observer, so that's useful. Took out a tank with artillery, and of course all the artillery ranger markers are still there, so the repeat bombardments could be very nasty for the Brits. And then a spigot wasted a couple of these warriors that were redeploying in order to protect the AA. So they got caught in the crossfire in the open. And it's now over to the British turn 2, and we'll see how they respond to the rather good fortune Red Forces turn. Okay, at the end of turn 2 for the British, some more of the warriors have moved up. They attempted to range in on these infantry with the artillery, but they rolled rather poorly, which turns out to have been a theme for this turn for the British. The British HQ has redeployed to something more secure, and so he's relatively safe. The one thing that actually worked for the British this turn is that they ranged in with some mortars on these infantry in the building. They didn't actually hit anything this turn, but it's a rather good place to be ranged in because it will slow down the covered advance of another 2 platoons that are moving up. That might give some protection to the AA. The surviving warriors moved to a bit of concealment behind that tower. Assaulted shots were attempted at the observers, and by some fucking miracle, the Soviet and Polish observers survived. My experience with observers normally is they get picked off very quickly, but today they're well, the British ones did. The dice seem to be reversing the fortunes a little bit this game so far, but we're only down in turn 2. We're about to start rolling for reserves in turn 3, so it's still anyone's game. The end of turn 3 for the Red Forces. We got 1 reserves roll. We're actually rolling 1 reserve per player. There's a lot of units in reserve. So one of those came up, and I got my jets. That's 6 jets, but we decided not to roll for them to turn up because we haven't sorted out that AA just yet. Now, what happened? Well, I redeployed the BMP-1s so that they're a long way from this avenue of advance, so that I might actually get a chance to shoot their main missiles if those warriors come cruising around the flank to do some damage there. I moved up most of the BMP-2s to help protect this car park. We repeat bombarded the hail, and what did we kill? I think I bailed 1 transport. Did I kill any infantry? 2 infantry. That's nice. It'll take a little while to whittle away, but repeat bombardments, even with hail, seem to be reasonably effective. Infantry advanced. Well, some of the infantry advanced. On the left flank here, we've got infantry piling up, ready to assault the AA. These infantry were caught under a repeat bombardment and they stayed pinned. So rather than sit there getting pounded, we moved them back. Might need them later. Meanwhile, a flying fuckton of Afghansi went and stacked into the train station here. Let's get a good shot of that train station. Here he goes. A lovely little train station with a corridor through it. Little clock tower there. You can even, if you're keen, drive little recce vehicles through the train station. Anyway, enough showing off the terrain. What else happened? Andrew managed to get some artillery in amongst the AA and hit rather a lot, but they rolled rather well on their save, so that was good. And I think there's a little bit of scrappy shooting over here, and we took out one of the warriors over there. So we're chipping away, but more importantly, we're manoeuvring in a position to fuck up the AA in time for a shitload of jets and planes to come in, and I'm looking forward to that occurring. And that is it for turn 3. We'll now do turn 3 for the British. It's now the end of the British third turn. Somebody tell me what the hell happened. I was gone when that shooting phase happened.
Like the British. Describe what happened.
Oh, so the British reined
So we
in.
did have a range in. We did pin at that platoon.
Alright, they kill anything?
Gunfires killed one of your dudes in
Oh,
the water tower.
that's devastating for somebody. Alright, anything else happen?
In the centre, our reserves came on.
That's
and
right.
There's a whole mechanised platoon in this centre that's now going to provide some support to our AA, which would have not ended pretty for them without support there.
Right, okay.
They're surrounded by the enemy, as you can see.
Yes.
And we managed to range in and...
I see, they've ranged in on the...
what?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. We got one.
They've ranged in on the train station. Alright, lovely.
And the chieftain managed to take out one of his
Hey, finally.
Yeah, hitting twice. Just for good measure.
Okay, well, that sounds like it's over to the Red Forces turn 4, and we'll check in at the end of that. I think there's going to be some carnage. At the end of the fourth turn, that's what I'm saying, for the Red Forces, reserves came on, 5 T-64s, they lit up a couple more warriors. Meanwhile, some artillery came down and chipped away at this big cluster of British stuff. Nothing really decisive though. In the centre, there was a massive amount of infantry spray and pray. Didn't kill much in the way of the British infantry, just knocked off a transport. And an awful lot of RPGs came from the Afghansi into the AA, and the artillery repeat bombarded on those AA. But again, lots of bales, but no kills. So we'll see what happens at the start of the British turn and see whether any of that was decisive. And similarly, I think probably about 8 or so shots were fired at that chieftain. That's the one. And they all either missed or bounced.
Ping, ping.
That bastard is the luckiest bastard in the game. So truly a staggering amount of fire going down range for relatively minimal effect. But the Red Forces are still pushing the attack. Right, at the end of British turn 4, similarly large amounts of shooting, but not a lot of kills. Yes, this flank is, well, look, 4 chieftains, prime targets, fucking whiffed. What else happened? In the middle, vast amounts of firepower have gone both directions across that narrow street there and killed, what, maybe one stand of Ruskies so far. The Milans only managed to bail some BMP-1s. That's got to be very embarrassing for the crews. And over here, 2 chieftains managed to waste a grand total of 1 T-55M.
And barred one.
And barred one, yeah. So lots of dice flapping around. Not a lot of kills. And I think the next turn is going to be pretty spectacular because most of that AA is pinned. both flights of planes have turned up from reserves, so we've just got to roll to get 1 or 2 of them in. The helicopters are loitering off table. There's a bunch of tanks sitting around waiting to be shot up. This promises to be a little more eventful. At the end of turn 5 for the Red Forces, well, it's been eventful. The Russian T-64s did very little against the chieftains, but 6 planes turned up here, and they managed to waste 1 tank and bail another one, double bail in fact, but the bastards stuck around. The infantry in this tower have been pinned for a long time, which is ironic given I took the Polish because of their aggressive capacity to rally from being pinned down, and they've been rolling 1s and 2s for ages. BMP-1s have finally done something useful by firing their Saga missiles at the British mech transports. In this crazy mess over here, I advanced the Polish forces up the street with supporting fire from these other Polish troops who are actually pinned at the moment, so that they also have been rolling 1s and 2s to unpin. And we poured all of our dice into the British, hoping to pin them, to prepare the way for an assault, and I rolled 2 hits and no kills. That was annoying, so we did not push the assault in the end, which meant when Andrew and his Russians assaulted the Gepards, there was a prospect of triggering the British to counterattack into that assault. Fortunately, the British completely whiffed their dice rolls. This is a game of whiffed dice rolls, this one. Yeah. And they decided not to counterattack. We might have to look up the finer points of the rules on that, actually. But anyway, the end result was there's 2 Gepards which were hit with... they're not actually Gepards, they're marksmen. They were hit with RPGs in the side, and they got toasted by those. Over here, we did have 8 hinds that came in. The rapiers actually took out 2 of the hind. The remaining 6 hinds stacked on all of their missiles onto the British chieftains. And what do we get? We
Killed one and
killed one and bailed the other one. So we completely failed to waste 2 chieftains with 6 choppers.
And I recall you saying, "Oh, I think it's a bit of an overkill."
Yeah, we did say that. And the silly thing is, we've not even ranged in our artillery for this turn, because all of our artillery is a danger close to an assault or to a planes or some other such malarkey. So we've been throwing everything we've got at the British, and the bastards are still here. Sounds like a familiar story. So we'll see how many of the British get back into the tanks and whether those tank platoons still exist next turn. Because I think that's probably the telling thing. Their morale may yet let them down.
Did you do a close-up from the fire?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got one of our fire markers is one of these beautiful LED candlelight thingies with a whole lot of cotton wool. Looks very pretty.
There's probably just a couple of British soldiers in there just like making tea.
Yeah.
Well, I don't explain it.
Enough of battles.
You left the kettle out again.
Oh, dearie me. Well, so we're pushing the assault. We're in the British backlines, which is my favourite place to be.
Yeah, look how much stuff we've got on that side of the table. It's ridiculous.
We're piling it
I
on.
think we've actually got more stuff on that side of the table now.
But for all the crap we're throwing at the British, they're just not bloody dying. So it's turn 5 for the British, so they'll be getting up to 3 reserves each per player, and I think it's probably going to get a little bit more crowded. So we'll check in at the end of the British turn 5.
Yeah, I'll just put...
Okay, at the end of the British turn 5, they did actually manage to kill some things for a change. Their 2 surviving tanks did more damage than the 4 tanks they had last turn, and wasted a couple of T-64s. What else happened? They killed a bit of infantry here. So reserves came on, but we're seeing that the reserves are all in platoons of 2, which is not the most destructive, so they whittled down a bit of the Afghanistan there. And they've fired some Milans that all missed. Lots of ones this turn. And then these two chieftains turned up and Snake Eyes. About to start wreaking havoc through the back lines of the Russians and Poles over here, and pretty much everything which they brought on did very little. It's one of those games today. We're hoping we'll remedy that this turn. Well, the Red Force Air Forces turned up again. My 6 jets did not turn up, but Andrew's 4 jets did turn up. And aren't they pretty? They're not quite rooks, but no, we're using them as the same rules and just add a bit of flavour. And the combined Air Force took out a grand total of, was it 2 chieftains? 2 chieftains. Barely. That says something about how the game's going today. But our reserves had turned up and they've moved in, and those 3 T-64s completely failed to do anything for the last chieftain there. So we've got a massive amount of material on the Red 4 left flank. It's just a car park, frankly. The 4 BMP-1s killed 1 transport. Then what happened? Hang on. The rollicking shit fight in the middle here continued. As British seem to be thinning out rather a bit in there. There was a lot of them before, but we've just been machine gunning the hell out of them with all of the sundry. Did they do an assault this turn?
No.
Did we assault them?
No.
Oh, I guess all that RPG and Kalashnikov and grenade launcher fire into those 2 buildings is actually doing something. Oh yeah, my infantry unbailed finally. None of the vehicles did though. And on the far right flank for the Red Forces, these 2 chieftains had moved up rather close. So even though my T-72 did nothing, the infantry managed to jump on the tanks with relatively little defensive fire and wasted one of them in melee. The other one pulled back. That's it for turn 6 for the Red Forces, and we're finally starting to see the disparity in casualties. There's no chieftains left. We've got them all, including the HQ for the British, well, one of the formations. And but they're still holding on. They're not broken. Their formations are intact, still in good spirits, and it's the British turn. So we'll see what happens at the end of the British turn 6.